Welcome to another edition of the Coach Godwin Show. I'm your host, Coach Karan Godwin, all-time leading scorer at the University of North Florida. Also, author of a great new book, Everyone Hates a Ball Hog, but They All Love a Score. Please log on to jumpstarthoops.com, the ultimate source of basketball training. Today, we're going to go into another email question, and you can reach me at coachgodwin at jumpstart33.com. That's Coach Godwin at jumpstart33.com. We also have a great new social network, the Jumpstart Hoopers. So you can log onto the website and click on the link to the Hoopers, set up your own page, and be able to interact with me whenever you have a problem, especially during the year, this upcoming basketball season. Today's email question is from Alex, and it deals with emotions. It says, whenever I'm not hitting my shots, I tend to get very frustrated. When I get frustrated, my entire game shuts down. I can't pass, I can't rebound, and I foul left and right. I was just wondering if you had any tips on controlling my emotions. Well, this is another great email question, and keep them coming. Have people emailing me directly or just going through the website, the Jumpstart Hoopers social basketball training network. The reasons why you should learn to control your emotions is it makes you an inconsistent player. When you talk about being great at the game of basketball, I don't care if you're a rebounder, I don't care if you're a scorer, I don't care if you're the point guard. Every position on that floor needs to be able to think clearly, and that's just a normal part of the game. You have to be able to think, you have to be able to contribute to your team. When you get overly emotional, you let your emotions control you. It really becomes about you, and a lot of people from the outside looking in are going to look at you as a selfish player, and you may not even be. It may just be you focus on your emotions. But it's something that you have to do because you become inconsistent. And one day you may have a great game, the next day, you're down because of your emotions. You couldn't control it. The ref made a bad call, and here you are, you want to yell at the ref, or you're going down on defense, you let your man score because you're worried about that last call. So that's number one reason why you need to control your emotions. It's because it makes you an inconsistent player. Number two, cool heads always prevail, especially at the end of game situations. I know that coming up, coach draws a play, you may be down by 2 points with 15 seconds left, or you may have a guy that gets on the foul line and there's limited amount of time on the clock and he really has to make these foul shots. Well, this is when cool heads prevail. If you're caught up into the hype of the game or you're down there and someone just gave you a good nudge. I mean, one of the things they used to do in the old school is, especially at the end of the game, and guys used to foul you hard. Not only foul you hard, some guys would give you a cheap shot, especially if they knew you were an emotional player, because it made it harder for you to go up there and make those foul shots. So that's one thing you have to remember. Cool heads always prevail. Number three, your team and your coach needs you. Number one, you're representing yourself, you're representing your family, you're representing your school and your friends, and also your coach. So everyone needs you. If you're an emotional player, and that leads into the number four, you become an easy target for your opponent. And everybody knows, especially in conference play, when you're trying to, win that conference championship or you're trying to win that district or whatever you have in your area, everyone knows who you are. And they usually attack the more emotional players because these are the players that that can win the opposing team games. I can't say how many times, I was in situations where I was coaching my team and, they win the heated battles, and during the timeout, I would talk to different individuals and tell them to keep their cool. And a lot of times that paid off because, there was technicals called later in that game or situations came up where the cooler head prevailed. So you don't want to become that target because a lot of times people will use that against you, and that's where the cheap shots come in. And you may be right, but you're always going to be wrong because you're the emotional guy and you're reacting. So number five, your opponent feeds off your frustration. And this is one of the things that I used to just love, especially being a scorer and being a guy that loves to win. Your frustration gives me energy. So if I'm your opponent, why give me that energy? You never want to give your opponent any advantage at all. So that frustration, you're frustrated at the ref, you're frustrated that this guy keeps on scoring on you. The opposition feeds off that. The crowd feeds off that. People see you, especially in a game of basketball. It's very personal and up close and personal. So you have to be able to control your emotion, so you just don't give that that energy or that momentum boost to your opponent. I also have some tips on controlling your emotion. Number one, um, you have to focus on your opponent and using their emotion against them. One of the things that kept me under control is I was always looking for a weakness in my opponent. So if I'm looking for you to overreact to something I'm doing, whether I'm coming off the screen and I'm pushing off, or I was doing something to get you agitated, you have to stay in control. And once you're focused on getting the other person out of control, well, it's hard for you to lose your control. So focus on your opponent's emotion and feed off their energy and their frustration. So I used to love playing against emotional guys because when I get going, I start scoring, and then they start showing their emotion. It just took me to a different level as far as being in tune with the game. And also when something happened to me, I'd always smile and look back at the ref. Did you see that? Type of thing. If you look at a guy like Ron Artest, early in his career, I mean, he was just a cannonball. You did anything to the guy, and he's ready to go. But now you start to see him exhibit a little bit more control to the point where, he can smile if you do something to him. You hit him with an elbow or you give him a cheap shot, and nowadays he'll smile at you, where earlier in his career he'd probably go after you even harder. Another tip for controlling your emotion is keeping your eyes on the prize. The objective of the game, and this is something that you can't lose focus of, is to win the game. And it sounds simple, but the emotional players' objective changes as the game goes on. Because they're so self-absorbed and consumed with their own emotion that they can't see that the objective is to win the game. A case in point, I had a kid that was playing for me, and we're going down the end of the stretch, and it's about a minute left in the game, and we're up by 5. So he comes down, and due to his emotion, he fouls a 3-point shooter, which you never do at the end of the game. I mean, if it goes in, it goes in. You're up by 5. He fouls a 3-point shooter, and after that, he yells at the ref. So not only does this guy have 3 shots, but now the ref just gave you a technical, and you lost your focus of what the objective is, because now he gets the ball back. So right away, 3 shots and 2 more foul shots, they can tie the game up, where really we had that game in the bag. So you have to keep your eyes on the prize. But overall, it's a great question from Alex. I look forward to hearing more of your questions. Remember, that's Coach Godwin at jumpstart33.com. Log on to the podcast. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast, so whenever I am throwing out there, it goes directly to your computer. Also, log on to jumpstarthoops.com and join that social network, Jumpstart Hoopers. It's a great social network. You can communicate with me and other people that love the game of basketball and have a lot of information to share. So, till next time, jumpstarthoops.com.